I remember while you were speaking, you spoke about, how the media it is very important, even in the little things, the skits. From the skits, you have to be intentional. You agree with me now that to market a film in the media using social media, we have various TikTok trends and all of that. So I was going to ask, is TV and radio still relevant in film promotion?
I believe so. And it's so funny. You also asked this question because I was watching a clip last night, and a colleague of mine was saying that now that data has doubled, the price of data has doubled, perhaps more people will come back to radio to listen to music. And the person was almost like dying. People will come back to meet us. Jokes apart, I attended this radio conference years ago in LA, and they on the panel, the next panel was this guy from Ford Motors. And in my mind, I'm wondering, it's a radio conference. Why is this guy from Ford Motors here? And his role, when it was time for him to speak, he said, in all the years, because Ford Motors has been making cars for close to, I'm sure, like 100 years now, from, the way cars used to be in those black and white movies, and different shapes, different engine models, and everything. And he said, all I'm going to say is the body of the car might change, the engine might change, the tires might change. But let me tell you, so even the way you play music might change. He was explaining how they were now making cars where they were transitioning out of, I'm sure if you buy a car now, it probably doesn't have a CD player anymore. Before it was a tape, before the tape was an 8-track, all of that. He said, no matter what it is, every car we produce will have a radio. He said, so you can be a Bluetooth car, smart car, this, that, and the other. People still want to listen to the radio. So while Gen Z might have written up traditional media, I'm sure everybody's mom and dad or auntie, or even as you get into your 30s, I'm not sure what age you are, you find yourself turning to the news channels because you want to know what is happening. You're not going to wait for the gossip blog that you turn to on social media from Chuchocho to find out what is really happening in the country that you're living in. Apart from, yes, you might have it open on your phone, but you will turn to your Arise, and you will turn to your CNN, and you will turn to your EITs just to find out what is going on, to make sure that what you're seeing on your phone is actually accurate or correct. When the NSARS thing happened during the pandemic, I bet you were turning on the TV to see what was going on, even if you don't have DSTV. You have your free-to-air Silverbird TV, you wanted to know what was happening. So, at the end of the day, while there's so many social media channels, there's TikTok, today only God knows what app is going to pop up next, the TV and radio are still very relevant. And maybe it means different things to different people of different generations. Unless you plan to die young, you turn to that adult who wakes up to watch Arise TV every day. Mark my words. So TV and radio is still very relevant.
So my next question, because we've been talking about your expertise in terms of media. So now, as a film producer, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges for a film producer here in Nigeria?
Money, we need money. Oh my God, we need money. I remember freaking out a little bit last year when the streamers left us. Even though they didn't leave us. Netflix was like, bye. Amazon was like, bye-bye. And we're just like, okay, what the heck are we going to do? Because before that, we only had multi-choice. Which, by the way, shout out to them, even though we like to yell at them for increasing their rates, they are one of the biggest contributors to the Hollywood industry, from producing those TV dramas, your judges and who commissioning 300 plus episodes. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of people. To creating showmax to compete with the streamers. The biggest thing is money. There's a show that I was a part of in 2017 and in 2021 called Our Best Friends Wedding, produced by TNC. And people love the show so much, it's great. Some of your biggest stars of today, like were in the series. Maurice, what's his name now? sorry, Morris Sam and all the rest of them. They were in that series and now they're big stars and people want to see what happens next. It ended on a cliffhanger. And they're like, oh, you guys should produce. And I'm just laughing like, do you know how much it costs? You want me to spend close to 100 million naira so you can hee for free on YouTube? Nobody's, well, unless maybe you're like a calorie or something, you are not guaranteed of making your money back. So funding is one of the biggest issues. How are you even going to put this fantastic script, how are you going to bring it to life if you don't spend good money? Think of how now you look for bread is like 2K or wherever, depending on where you live. Petrol is now 1,000 naira plus, depending on where you live or where you buy from. Everything has doubled, tripled. So that also spills over to production. People want more money. These people are big stars. Now, cost of locations, there's so many things. If you had to shoot like a market scene at Lagos Island and you had to send to the area boys back in the day 100K, now they're asking for 500K. So it costs a lot of money and funding is a big issue, and this is where the streamers help. Now, apart from money, you also now have this dilemma of how am I going to make my money back? Am I going to put great actors who don't have they're great, they're really, really good actors, but they're not commercial, in that this person will deliver, will kill this role. However, they don't have enough followers. What are we going to do? So that is why you are seeing many of the same faces in the same movies, because at the end of the day, nobody is creating movies for fun. It's not a hobby. And that's what people especially people who are not in the creative space, they forget that this is someone's livelihood. While it looks like fun, you want to make money, you're an entrepreneur, and you want to be able to make your money back so you can create more and do more. But how are you going to do it? So those are some of the things that we battle with. Locations. Like one thing I would say, like I'm always jealous when I watch like South African productions. You don't even have to watch the movies, even as far as like the reality shows. If you watch Young Famous in Africa, you'll be like, this is their country, so fine. So fine. You understand? And once you go submit a permit somewhere, you get to nobody's coming to knock your camera down or attack you or whatever it is. Like those are the things that hinder productions, basically.
Okay, so this will bring me to my next question. What are the untapped opportunities in media for the film industry?
See, when you asked me this, I had stuff at the top of my head, but I also had to Google a little bit to add to what I had in my head. First of all, I think that we haven't fully harnessed, partnerships with brands. And a lot of times, when you watch movies from Hollywood, there's so many product placements that if you're not, and they do it so cleverly, so nicely, like in the first, who was it? I think it was it Bad Boys, the last one that came out maybe last year or so. Somebody was saying like in the first 20 minutes they had counted like 10 brands. I wasn't watching. Me, I was, amazed by the action film and cars of, some assaulting and everything. I was like, oh, I was just watching as a fan because I'm not ready to watch as, an executive or a professional. But honestly, we need to tap into that a lot in this city. And it's not a last minute thing. Sometimes when I see it in Nigerian productions, I crave because it's so tackily done and it's so obvious that it wasn't planned well or it was a last minute situation. Another thing I was going to say is that used to upset my bosses when I was in radio is when it's time to promote a movie, people they'll pay the actors, they'll pay the photographers. Now they are doing elaborate, clips for marketing and photo shoots where you all dress fine, they will look fine. They were not dressed for free. They did not do their makeup for free. The operation was not for free. They will print flyer, they will pay their graphic artists. But then it comes to radio and television, they'll be like, we would like XYZ superstar to stop by. What do you think? No. Where is the money? Come and pay. Even if you don't have the full amount, let's discuss, let's partner, even if you can't pay the full amount for the airtime, they don't factor that into the marketing, which is very wrong. they only think about all the other things, and when it comes to especially traditional media, they expect you to just do it for free, which is wrong. And so those are some opportunities. They're not doing enough partnerships, not doing enough collaborations. And I feel like it's also a problem in Nigeria because everybody is afraid of the next person. They don't want the next person to take their shine. And so we're busy covering work for each other, and at the same time we're suffering. Well, we can collaborate and do something great together.
So, this, I think, let's just, we said a lot, and if we keep on going, we would not be here.
I have a question for the participants. How many of you are already working in the media space? And how many of you are hoping to get into the media space, whatever it is, whether it's film, television, marketing, advertising, whatever it is? My whole point, we are in the right place, and I'm just going to say that nobody is coming to save us. We have to do it ourselves, and it's not going to be easy, and it can be very frustrating getting no or trying to do your job, and there are also some unnecessary distractions. But this is why you need to, apart from networking upwards, trying to find mentors in your field or the field you're interested in, also try to network sideways. Try to always find a colleague. It's not about, let's stop the unnecessary competition, unnecessary, I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I'm talking about. So you need to do that as well, because you just never know how a relationship that you made with a colleague or somebody, in another company, for example, will help you later on in life. Give you an example. So when I first started radio in 2005 as a youth corps member, and I noticed that, first of all, there was something that was happening. You would see female on-air personalities, it would be great, and then eventually they would fizzle out. You see, there were not even a lot of artists, female artists then. Like you see female, and then they'll fizzle out, maybe you marry, and the husband will say, I want to do media, and that's the end. So what I started doing was inviting them to drinks. And I wasn't just including female on-air personalities, I was also including artists or people that were just in the industry, maybe actors. So I have some pictures from 2013, 2012, and we'll stay somewhere and just get drinks and just get to know each other, because we're like, these guys are passing us, they are making money. Meanwhile, what happens to us is, as soon as you get to a certain age, the industry kind of discards you. Meanwhile, your colleague who is male and has 6 children is still working. Do you understand? They are still giving him work. They're not discarding him because now he's somebody's father. But they'll be like, you have to snap back. And then the next thing they won't call you for work again. So we had to start fostering that relationship. And even though we're not necessarily best friends or close friends, there's still some sort of camaraderie. You can still pick up the phone and say, yo, what's happening in your own station? This was happening. This brand approached me. And this is the rubbish they're telling me. Did they tell you this? That way you get to find out what is really happening. There's nobody coming to save us. There's only one, what's that answer that got Lambo? Lambo, one of us. It's rare. It's not going to happen time. Do you understand? I don't care how bad you look, how fine you are. We have to save ourselves. And this goes to whatever field you're in. Please, the next person or the next woman is not your competition. Don't be tight in chest. Be free and talk. A lot of times, because you don't say anything, you kind of lose out or miss out. This is what I'm hearing. That way, one person is not suffering in one corner because you are afraid to share information or network. So it's very, very important that we are, we communicate more. Not just upwards, but amongst ourselves. So yeah.
What can we as women do to change the perception of women in the media and media and entertainment space?
There's so much we can do, but if, for example, you are here and you're planning to own your own media house one day, or you're planning to own your own blog one day, I'll give an example. The same vim you are using to push salacious, gossipy stories use this to push women's stories that are doing great things. There's a lady right now, her name is Alma Asinobi, and she's about to embark on this audacious thing where she's going to go to 7 continents in 60 hours. I'm not seeing people push it. Now, when she does it, they will all start posting her. And I'm just like, but if there's one rubbish, dirty gossip, they will post it. They will be talking about it. Talk about it in your podcast. Talk about it on your group chats. Push it out. Talk about it on your Twitter, on your Snapchat, on your whatever it is, however you communicate, on your stories. Give this person a boost. Give this person some encouragement. Not just the cho-cho-cho of who bought car, who did not buy car, who planned it, who did not. Like, do you understand? Like, I'm saying there's going to be gossip, no problem. There's going to be gossip, there's going to be drama, there's going to be scandal. But if you are, like, I'll give an example. When I was on radio, I used to avoid hanging out with artists, and I'll tell you why. I did not want to be, because artists were very friendly. Obviously, they want you to be their friend, they want you to play their music, they want you to talk about them. So they'll invite you to their home. Oh, come, I'm going to this place, I'm going to spoil you champagne, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I used to run because, not because I don't like nice things, or I don't, or I don't like to hang out with cool people, but I did not want to be in a position where I'm compromised. Where, okay, because I drank your champagne last night, and then the next day you slap somebody and I cannot talk about it because I was drinking your champagne last night. Do you understand? So I kind of used to keep that distance between myself and, artists. And you just need to be mindful of what you're doing, especially when it comes to a woman. I'm not saying don't do your job. I'm not saying, I'm just saying don't be unfair. If you're going to put out a story, for example, as is good, put it out. As is bad, do you understand? With the same level of, let it not be like you have this agenda against this person. That's what I'm saying. And I used to say it all the time. Like, if this person should win a Grammy today, I will talk about it. If this person should impregnate yet another person, I will talk about it. Like, I'm not giving you an example. Like, you have to be mindful of how you do your job. Another thing I would say is don't be in the part of the people who are perpetuating like stereotypes, and I will explain again. Now, when I used to, part of being in the media is you organize events and things. And I remember a secondary school friend of mine had mentioned that she had an ushering company, and we were having an event for Nigeria FM or something, and we needed ushers. So I called her and I'm like, hey, so we need like 10 ushers, not a really big event, just need like 10 ushers. And then before I finished, she said, and you want them to be light-skinned and size 8, Abby? I was like, what? This is people that were paying, as a then, 10,000 naira. I said, you have to tell people where to sit, you have to be light-skinned and not bigger than size 8. Are you serious? And I was like, no, that's not the brief. She said, oh, that's the brief she used to get from people. I said, well, that's not the brief I used to. As long as the person has common sense and looks, presentable and neat, I don't care what size you are, what complexion you are, but don't be in the room when they're trying to pick people for something and you're picking people based off of, well, that's what looks good. Pick people based on merits. Pick people based on the work they've put in. Pick people based on, do you understand what I'm saying? So there's women also, there was a time in this industry where you had to be light-skinned or mixed race to get a job in front of the camera. Let's be real now. If not for a woman, Tools and I would not be on multi-choice today. It was a lady who was at the top, Usola, who was like, oh, I really like what you guys are doing. Let's talk about how we can get this show on television. They were not caring about whether we were big, whether we were mid-sized, whether we were light-skinned, whether we were mothers, things like that. Even down to events. One thing we also realized is as we got older, and it happened even in the stations that I was working in. Sorry, I'm going to cut it short. I remember coming back from maternity leave and I got a call from HR of my station, and he goes, so, as I'm coming back from maternity leave, we're thinking, would you like to consider moving to classic? I was like, excuse me? They're like, yeah. And this is a station I've worked in for 12 years at the Beats. And they were like, yeah, I was like, no, I don't want to go to classic. Why? Oh, what about Lagos Talks? Because you have such strong opinions. I said, no, I don't want to do it. Like, I was just like, is it crime to have a baby now? I don't understand. But I noticed also that at a certain age or at a certain point, especially in the Nigerian media space, they kind of push certain women out. Do Do you understand? Like, they don't even invite you to events anymore. You'll be in your house chilling, and you just look on social media. Which event is this? This event every year. What's going on? Everybody has one cloth. I don't understand. Why? So, don't be the woman that will continue such a culture, is my point. If you are in such rooms, you need to fight against that. Because then it affects other people, affects their income, affects so many different things. At the end of the day, you're not going to be a spring chicken for like forever, and that doesn't mean, like I give an example, there's a lady called Angie Martinez, she's 50 plus, and she's still on radio in New York, and she's still doing her job. And I was telling my boss when I left the station to say, if it were me now, he would have driven me away to say, I'm old. Once we turned 30, they started telling us, you're old, you're old. But the Breakfast Club, one of the most popular radio shows in the world, the 3 or 4 of them on that show are over the age of 40. Charlemagne is 45 years old and he's still interviewing your Remas, your whoever, Gucci Manes, whoever it is that gets on that show. But in Nigeria, show me a 40 plus woman on radio right now. Show me. Show me. And it's not a news station. Or it's not an, do you understand? So things are happening and there are women in these rooms. Don't be quiet. I'm not saying fight for people who deserve positions and not just because it's just what obtains. And as women as well who are in these spaces, if you want to be considered for leadership roles, prepare yourself and position yourself. You don't expect them to just hand you things just because you're a woman. Brush up your skills, take some classes, get some experience, do something. So don't just sit there and say, well, they didn't promote me, but why should they promote you? Where's the work you've put in? So also, unfortunately, you have to be twice as good as some of these guys just to get half where you've gone. So it's two sides is what I'm trying to say. From you're trying to get, to the leadership level in your job, to when it is time for decision making. Don't be part of harmful decision making, especially against other women. Thank you.
Hello everybody, good afternoon. My name is Felicia and I'm a social media manager, content creator, and mobile phone videographer. So with film, I think every film takes time. Even the 30 minutes YouTube videos, God, I know how hard they can be to film, you cut and everything. But you mentioned something about funding.
Mm-hmm.
I think my greatest issue with filming, okay, so I'm going to put them into two, funding and gadgets.
Okay.
Because with funding, I think funding can be easily accessed if you look for it. But with gadgets, I think they are so expensive. Like, cameras are like, just you can get the body separate, lens separate, strap separate, so like, it's very hard. So how are we supposed to navigate that? Like, what do you think is the best option? Because people say, oh, use your mobile phones. I know at a point you get tired of filming with your mobile phone because of space. The storage is always full, you have to delete everything you have to film. So what do you think can do, like another option?
It is expensive. Equipment is so expensive, and if you should fall like this. So I think explore those options. I also hear that people rent equipment, it's also expensive, but find ways around it. You have to figure it out, basically. I mean, I once bought a car, it took me like 5 years to pay it off. I had to get it. I used to drink Gary every day, but it's okay. And for those years, I still don't have a mechanic because it was a brand new car, and I wanted at all costs. My previous cars showed me so much pepper that I used to go to Ladipo myself. They knew me there. So I was like, I've suffered enough. Let me get a brand new car. I didn't have all the money. I went to find a company that would allow me pay monthly for like 4 years. It was a long time, but I don't know any Musibao, any Aziz, any Bayo. I don't have any mechanic because it was a brand new car. Do you understand? So sometimes you have to take the long painful route to get what you want.
I think with product placement, we see it a lot in these YouTube videos. And she also mentioned reaching out to brands.
Mm-hmm.
I think working with brands in Nigeria is very tricky. Brands don't always want to work with somebody that is not really there yet. I think somebody like Funke Akindele, I'm sure with the branding that she does, any brand will run to her to work with her. Even if she says, oh, we need 1 million bottles water, now, they will give it to her. But you don't expect somebody like, I don't want to mention names because they are very, very people that are not there yet. So I think it's very hard.
It is very
How
hard.
are they going to manage reaching out to brands, speaking, pitching, and all of that? It's very, very hard.
And it still boils down to, I don't think we should see ourselves as enemies. As women, let us help each other. Also, for brands, I get it. You would get no most of the time. But the question is, you also have, if you're coming to meet somebody to say, give me your money, I have to see the value. I have to see what is going to be in it for me. What's the advantage of me coming on board with you or partnering with you? And another trick is, sometimes, or most of the time, also go for their competitors. So for example, maybe you have an idea and the best person you can think of is Coca-Cola. You know that maybe to even get your foot in the door is going to take a longer period. Why not speak to Biggie Cola, or and look for ways, like study the brands, because information, knowledge is power and information is what? You also need information. Do your research. Try and look at what they are lacking and see how you can offer the services and see how you can marry it and sell it to them. The truth of the matter is, most people or most brand people, I know it can be annoying that sometimes at the end of the day you're like, why would this brand support this kind of initiative? What is in it for them? I don't get it. It will happen, but at least always put in the work. Put in the work. Do your sponsorship deck. Try as much as possible because it's value for value, and you make them know that okay. And also, offering value. It's like giving a joint voice to achieve dreams or objective. So do your research. Find out how you can offer value to these people and just put in the work. And it still boils down to what we've been saying. Relationships, they matter regardless of how small it is. Today we are all here. You can just get each other's number. I'm glad that there's going to be like a networking session. You can, have somebody's contact. You never know, it will come in handy someday. So we just have to keep pushing. Don't let the no's make you feel sad or you feel, okay, what is it I'm not doing right? Trust me, you're doing it right. But as you're doing it, please make sure you put in your work because nobody wants to commit money into your hands. And another trick is when you're going to ask somebody for money for a project or something that you want to do, please look the parts. Yeah. I know it's funny, but you cannot come and be asked. I'm not saying you should go and borrow or, go and now borrow Lambo or whatever. All I'm saying is you can as well look good. Don't let them know that, okay, I can commit these funds to this person's hands and the person will not run away. The person will not go and use the money to go and buy a car or a phone. Dress well. If possible, call your friends together, try as much as possible to do presentations. Let them know, where, no man is an island. Let them know where, you need to do better. And be open to constructive criticism. Don't think, oh, somebody's out there to get you. We are not our enemies, do you understand? And there's nothing wrong, even as women, regardless. It doesn't matter if the person is older or younger than you, there's nothing wrong having a mentor or someone you can always call to say, I want to pick your brains on so thing. As a lawyer, one of the things I can tell you that has been a gift to me is I can call my colleagues who are lawyers to pick their brains on anything and I will not pay for it. It's that's amazing because it could just be any random issue and I'm calling them. But the thing is, I have good relationship, and it's not that every time I see them, I'm like, we hold hands and we cool my but it's just from mutual respect And I need you to know that to keep some friendships together, it's also value for value. You also need to, in your own little way, how else or how can you also impact the person's life? So having mentors too, it helps. It helps a great deal. So no man is an island. And the thing is, if you discover a problem, then there's so much wealth you can create by thinking of a solution. You mentioned, your first question was all about, how expensive it is to buy gadgets and all of that. It could be that, okay, you've had a relationship with a particular vendor. You can say, okay, you know what? For young entrepreneurs or content creators like myself, can we come up with like an initiative where we can encourage young creators, we can spread payments in as much as the necessary due diligence is done. And you will agree with me that we have the Sonys and all of them in Nigeria. There's nothing wrong if you send an email. The thing is, no stupid person would see value and close his or her eyes to it. Regardless, even if you get a no, there's nothing wrong if you ask why. In a polite manner, not that you go and say why. But you get what I mean. It's not because of anything, it's so that you can be better. You can be better. And for every presentation or every sponsorship deck, it gets better every time you put it in. There's nobody that will say, oh, my sponsorship deck or proposal, this thing is the best. I don't need to learn. You also would learn on the job. Because no matter how good you are, and make inquiries. There are some people that's their specialization. They create proposals. If you want grants, they prepare it. You can, if you don't have the money to give them at the time, you guys can come to an agreement and say, you know what, if at the end of the day, this is approved and we get to so amount, I'll give you a certain percentage of the money that we are requesting for. So as women, we should always try as much as possible to think outside the box. Don't take the no as a final no, still find a way. But please always put in the work.
How do you act? What's your go-to when you're being taken advantage of? When I mean when you're being taken advantage, you're married, you have a kid, and then sometimes there's some things that you can no longer do. And then you see some of your colleagues or people that are in bigger sports, saying, oh, she can't do this because she just got married, just neglecting your your work and the things that you've done just because of things that are very natural and very normal.
Trying to think of how to say this without. I mean, there's some situations where you feel like your work has been ignored, or your work has been ignored, and you are kept out of certain spaces. So I just feel like maybe work harder, and there's no way that they can ignore you, or find ways around it that might not be conventional. I'm not saying you should be a party crasher or whatever it is, but find ways around it. Maybe someone who is working there. Oh, I'd like to be invited next time. Oh, this is happening. Next time, please remember to put my name in there or something. I'd like to, even if I can't make it, at least you need to put my name in there. I'm just giving an example. I know that this might not fit for everything, so that's one. The second thing that you said was podcasts. Now, the tricky thing about social media and podcasts is, on one hand, it's amazing that people can express themselves, people can say exactly what they mean, and so on. On another hand, it's the bad side of social media where people will just set up a mic, set up the ring light or whatever it is and say nonsense. And impressionable young people start to follow this person because they're saying really wrong, sensational things. Okay. What can we say? Because if you say, oh, NBC should step in, they should regulate this, they should regulate that, what's going to happen is they're going to overdo it. And people are not going to be able to express themselves. So it's now left for, first of all, if you are the parent of a minor, do your job as a parent to make sure that you instill certain values, morals, and a bit of common sense to say, this is not right. And if the person is over 18, we've all done or believed or said some foolish things, when we're younger. Hopefully, you grow out of certain mindsets and certain the way people think. I mean, it's wild how, and for my own personal, let me just say, there are certain blogs and there are certain pages that I have blocked off. Do you understand? And in fact, if back in the day, if there were certain blogs that I would see, if I see your name there, you are cancelled as a human being to be. You mean you are in the comment section of this gossip blog saying rubbish? Yeah, man. Like, in fact, it should be a first date question. Do you comment in gossip blogs? Like, really? It should, because or do you fight on the internet? Like, it's. I feel like it's some sort of self-preservation, self-censorship in a way where you kind of just block off certain pages, like, because they are known for more negativity than positivity. Also, I would like to let you know that sometimes these blogs don't pick up sound bites from podcasts just because they know it's controversial. Sometimes these podcasts pay these blogs. Oh yes, because they want to. Also, they set aside a good, healthy marketing budget, and they ensure that they send certain controversial clips to certain blogs, and they know that these blogs are going to post it, and they've paid for it. In fact, forget blogs, down to pictures. Somebody is speaking somewhere, they're going to pay bloggers and just tell you don't put some sponsored content at the bottom. Nobody's going to, oh, Labaka is looking so beautiful in her butterfly gown. She paid for it. Just letting you know. Do you understand? People go as far as orchestrating fights, orchestrating all sorts of things just for attention. So it's left for you as an adult to try to filter these things. If you're going to expose yourself to every single thing, there's some people that as it comes up, whatever they're saying, I just scroll. I don't want to ever watch any video that this individual is saying, is speaking or saying anything. I just scroll. That's how I, just kind of, in fact, and it's not, for me, even down to sad things. When it's really sad things, please don't sour my mood. I'm already fighting bad A. I don't want to watch anything sad in a beg. Do you understand that that's just me? So you as an individual, as an adult, you know how to filter certain things. And I encourage communication a lot, having conversations with friends. Different people have different opinions. There are some things, sometimes you might outrightly condemn a thing, and then a friend might be like, no, but from this angle, what about this angle? And that's where healthy discourse comes from. So basically, just do you as your part as an adult to, filter certain things, avoid certain things, certain individuals, like if you already know that something is good, this person is going to say is going to annoy you, before you find yourself cussing that person in their comment section, just scroll please, or block or mute, whatever it is that you need to do, I'm not anybody's, before I even became a mom or whatever it is, I used to just try to encourage interns, both male and female, to make themselves useful. What a lot of them started to do as social media got bigger and bigger was they would just meet go stand next to you, BTFN like, selfie. They've not done anything, they don't know it, they've not done anything, and then they'll go and post it on their Instagram profile, BTFN. What are you, like, they've not even asked you to do anything. Some people were just there because they just thought it was just fun and games. So I would find, because for you to be on radio, you have to do a lot of research. So I would do certain things like, okay, I want to know what song was number one in so and so year, who produced this, who did that. In some cases, make them just keep them busy. Because some people just think, they just want to be popular, they want to be famous, no matter what. I tweeted something the other day, I said, if you want to become rich and famous fast in this country, put away your home training, your shame, or your common sense. Do you understand? And that's what's happening. There's some people that I'm like, how are you popular? Like, how is this possible that you have a following, that people are allowing you dictate to them how to live their lives? Like, how? Or you are following this, like, that's some of my, sometimes I talk with my friends, like, if I ever see you following X, Y, then I will judge you, like, ew, why? But that's my personal opinion. I just feel that if you see a young person who has been brought in as an intern or something, and you can try to offer some guidance, but at the end of the day, you're not their mother, you're not their father, I remember there were these girls, when we used to still use CDs back in the day. What will happen is people would pick from those CDs and then they will not put it back because the CDs were numbered. So they used to come, what they used to do, their parents would drop them for their internship. And they'll drop them like by 9. By 11, some car would come for them and they would disappear. And then when it's closing time, we bring them back. So they were obviously not doing anything. So one day I said, wait, please don't go anywhere. I want you to help me organize. You see how those papers those books are at the back of this room right now. Oh, I said, please arrange everything according to number. It's boldly written there. Everything was in the case. Just arrange. Bro, they sighed and sighed. It was just like 100 CDs. They were not scattered. They were not on the floor. They were on a shelf. But just arranged like 1, 2, 3, 4. These 2 young ladies, they were twins. Like they were sighing and sighing. And at some point, I had to do something. Before I knew where I was, I disappeared. You couldn't arrange ordinary things, something I can tell my 4-year-old to do. Wow. Some people don't want to do any work. They're just there because they just want to be popular. You know, whoever is the most controversial, most popular person is their role model. And there's nothing you can tell them about it. So do your best, leave the rest. Yeah.
Thank you. For someone that is just starting out, so how exactly do you connect to, because you mentioned networking with your peers and like networking up there as well. So how exactly do you network with people that are up there and you show that, for somebody that is up there, obviously, like, I don't want to say there's nothing you want to do or that you know that the person does not know yet, but how do you offer value so it doesn't seem like a one traffic thing, for lack of better word? So it doesn't seem like, oh, you just want to get from this person and you're not giving anything back in return. So how exactly do you create a balance? And then the second one is, people say this a lot, but I don't believe it, that women are the biggest enablers of patriarchy. And that's because I know so many women that do not do that. So I do not believe that women enable things like that. So for you get into a space and you meet women there, and probably because there's something you feel that is not right, but then probably because they've been there for a very long time and they feel like, oh, it's really not a big deal, but it's a big deal to you. So how exactly do you speak up and it doesn't seem like you are doing so much? So a clear case is what is going on in the Nigerian Senate at the moment. So Senator Natasha has been suspended. There are other women in the Senate. So we do not have as many women as the number of men there. But like, they're not saying anything. They are not speaking up. So it seems like, and like for older generation, or older women, I've listened to so many interviews that have said things about it. They're like, oh, it happens to everybody. Like, you should not say certain things and all of that. So how exactly do you navigate that sort of situation so it doesn't seem like, oh, you are maybe doing too much or you are making a big deal out of nothing, especially when it is something that you feel is wrong, and ordinarily you feel like any reasonable person should open their mouth and speak up about that particular thing, like, why you're not saying anything about it? And then thirdly, for mentorship as well, how exactly, like, the media space is big and also small at the same time. So for your vast wealth of experience, how exactly would you advise someone that is just starting out to find their voice? So the media space is big, like I mentioned, and then you're seeing so many people doing so many things, and you just want to break forth into the space. You know that, okay, you have value to offer, you want to do certain things. So how exactly do you find your own unique voice and then create a clear path for yourself, basically?
I receive so many DMs all the time. Oh, because I'd like you to be my mentor. I'd like you to be my mentor. And I'm just like, this is such a big ask because, please, I'm just a baby. I swear, I'm just a baby. I'm trying to learn, I know, but I'm just like, what am I mentoring you for? And then I would say, you know what, if you have any questions, just ask me. Or if you need advice on something, just ask. I feel like as you are, navigating your way, as you are networking with your peers, also if you really want somebody to, be your mentor, offer, yourself as, oh, I'd like to learn, I don't mind coming around, whatever job you need me to do, I will do, I will not roll my eyes. And hopefully the person too will not go and send you to buy popcorn or something like that, because that was what happened to me so before I got into radio at all, my first job was at NTA. That's where I served, and basically I was there. They used to give me news stories. I was the only youth corps member that they would give news stories to go cover. And so while I'm over here trying to write my story because it's going to go on headline news, like like, nationwide news, somebody will now say, oh yeah, cross the road, go to Munchies and buy me popcorn. I said no. I said, I was, you people think my mouth is sharp. It was sharper then, when I was 20 years old. I said, no, I did not go all the way to America to go study, to come and buy me popcorn. Hey, calm down. Who is she? Who does she think she is? My man, I'm thinking, they're not going to beat me. Last, they will shout. And they shouted. I was like, oh, sorry, I'm not going to Munchies to buy me popcorn. Call somebody else. This is not America. Make them tell them. So there's you have to start drawing your boundaries. Like, I'm not gonna. Like, what am I here to do? Am I here to do stories, or am I here to buy you popcorn? I don't care if I'm doing NYC. I'm not going to buy you your lunch or whatever it is you want to snack on. So those were like, if it's to do a story. And so they used to give me all sorts of stories. And I covered all sorts of stories. Like there was a family of mentally challenged people with children on Ahmadu Bello Way. They used to give me that kind of story to cover. Yeah, I will cover it. No problem. They used to give me all sorts of stories, but I'm not going to help you buy popcorn. So when it comes to, and I didn't keep in touch with some people, but I also didn't like the very government civil service type setting. So I was so glad to leave once my NYSC was over. They were trying to offer me a job, and I said, no, thank you. But yeah, when it comes to mentorship, if you are interested in working with someone, and also when they give you an opportunity, don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. I had a chance meeting with Dan Foster. I was at Cool FM to just type up the news and go. And you go drop what you typed up in the studio. And I started talking to him. I was like, oh, hi. And then I just have a few questions. And he was like, you talk so much. Just sit here. Where is Mike? Give her. Oh, yeah, talk. And the next day, I went back to my desk, but he called me and said, no, you're my partner now. Okay, and I was just like, okay. But I was like, okay, nobody. I was not the only youth corps member there, but I was the only youth corps member that would go on air every day with Dan Foster in the morning. It was listened to radio program in the country. Don't fuck it up. I was supposed to be there at 6 a.m. I'd be there at 6:45. I live in Igbo. I didn't care. There was no light on Lekki Ekpe Expressway. I didn't care. When this person gives you an opportunity, don't mess it up. Is the point. So my job was 6 a.m. to 11 on air with Dan Foster. From there, I would then go to NTA and work from 12 noon to whenever the story was over. Sometimes that meant midnight. So if you really want a shot, you can't be lazy, you can't mess it up. Kill it, finish it. So they have no excuse not to even elevate you even further and give you more roles or give you more jobs or things like that. So that's that. The second, what do you do in situations like where things are not right?
Like other women that are not saying anything about it. Because you've been there for a very long time, you feel like it's really not easy, but it's actually not.
Okay, I remember at a particular station I worked at, there were what I noticed was that female interns were being preyed upon by male members of staff. It was kind of like, oh, fresh meat. And they would tell these girls all sorts of things. Oh, if you sleep with me, you get a job. Or if you sleep with me, I'll talk to Oga for you. And some of these girls were foolishly, falling for things like this. And I remember having a meeting with HR and saying, this is happening. In fact, let me tell you what happened one time. One girl stayed back after hours, entering to go home at 5. We noticed that she was around at 8 p.m. And we also noticed that she was drunk, staggering. I told her to sit somewhere. I think I went to get her water. Next thing you know, she had disappeared into one of the rooms, and with a member of staff, and they locked the door. And so we started knocking the door because I was like, I don't know if this girl is aware of what she's doing or if she's consenting to this, but we were pounding on the door for like 30 minutes, and she eventually came out looking sheepish, and she was like, oh, nothing happened. Nothing happened. What were you? You're drunk, you disappear with a man twice your age in a room, nothing happened. And they kind of just covered everything up, and it was just like, I was like, well, you said nothing happened, and I did my best for you. I tried to help you, so I just feel, and I had to have a conversation with HR to say, you need to have a separate meeting with male members of staff to kind of warn them and let them know that these people are here to learn. They're not here to satisfy your urges or whatever it is you're trying to do. Yes, we know that they're adults, but again, it's inappropriate for you to do, certain things. Even though I was dealing with HR that was telling female members of staff not to dress a certain way so as not to distract male members of staff. I was just like, so dealing with that kind of individual, you also have to be careful. I mean, you speak up on it, and as long as you've done your best, you leave the rest pretty much.
Just to round up this session, I was going to ask for your final thoughts, a message for any young creative,
Final thoughts would just be, look, it's a very tough industry to be in. But you know what, if you get a shot, make sure you do the best. Do your best. Like, don't be lazy. Don't just be what I see nowadays is a lot of young creatives just want to leave school today, start a job today, and blow tomorrow. And that's not how it is. There's so much work that goes into it. So if you really want to reach where you have been, then you need to really put in the work. That's really, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. This brings us to the end of the first session. It was lovely, moderating this. And my name is Oyinda Adebayo. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.